Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clay, and I am the Bucks believer. One critique that Mike Budenholzer has oftentimes received as the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks is that he fails to adjust in the playoffs. However, in today's Game 4 against the Miami Heat, keeping it consistent was the best thing he possibly could have done. The Bucks struggled throughout the first half, and they went into the break trailing 64 to 57. There were three primary reasons for this. The first of those was that the Heat, who hadn't hit jump shots throughout the series since Game 1, suddenly could not miss. The Heat shot 52% from the field and 44% from beyond the arc. That is a far cry from the 37% mark they shot from the field in Game 3 and the 28% mark that they shot from beyond the three-point line. In that first half, Trevor Ariza made three three-pointers from the same corner, and he also made a floater. Tyler Hero had 10 points of his own, Kendrick Nunn got hot from the mid-range, and the two stars for the Heat, Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, had solid halves as each of those two players was in double digits. Brook Lopez was doing an excellent job of protecting the paint as always, and the Heat were unable to get any easy shots at the rim. However, they had it going in the mid-range and from beyond the three-point line, so they were still able to have a really solid offensive first half. On the other end of the court, the Heat built a great wall against Giannis Antetokounmpo in the first half of this game. Giannis really struggled to get it going as he could not get his jump shots to fall, and the Heat were playing very physical with him, so he had a hard time finishing at the rim either. He finished the first half with just 5 points on 1 for 7 shooting, which is not the typical performance we've seen from Giannis over the past few years. He, however, did step up in the playmaking department as he dished out 7 assists in that first half. He did a great job of finding his teammates both for easy shots at the rim, as he found PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday respectively in the dunker spot for some easy layups, and he created loads of open three-pointers for shooters on his team. However, he probably should have had even more than 7 assists, because the third reason why the Bucks were trailing at the break was that they did not make shots. The Bucks are shooting just 28.6% on 21 attempts from beyond the three-point line in the first half of this game. Many of those three-point shots were wide open looks off of Giannis' penetration, so it's not a stretch to say that the Bucks probably should have shot the ball far better than they actually did in the first half of this game. After the first half, Coach Bud could have looked at the score and panicked. He could have really over-adjusted heading into the second half and taken the Bucks out of their comfort zone, which could have spelled doom for the Bucks in today's Game 4. Instead, he stuck to his tried-and-true formula, and everything changed for the better in the second half. The Heat went cold from shooting the basketball. As I said before, they shot 52% from the field and 44% from three in the first half. Keep those numbers in mind, because in the second half, each of those dropped significantly, as Miami shot just 35% from the field and 23% from beyond the arc. Based off that alone, there was obviously going to be some significant regression when it came to the way in which the Heat played offense. That, along with Brook Lopez's continued dominance in the paint, held the Heat to just 39 points in the second half, as neither Jimmy Butler nor Bam Adebayo were able to generate easy points for the Heat at the basket, and that's what they really needed to get when their jump shots stopped falling. Lopez's rim protection was huge for the Bucks in this game, and that, along with some struggles shooting the basketball in the second half for the Heat, was why the Bucks were able to lock up on defense. They also played much better on offense, as they got it really going on that end of the court in the second half. They scored 63 points in the second period, which isn't too big of a jump from the 57 they scored in the first half, but they certainly did look much crisper in the second half than they did in the first. Giannis Antetokounmpo in particular really got it going, as he followed up that 5-point first half with a 15-point second half where he shot 7 of 11 from the field, as he found gaps in the Heat's wall and was really able to exploit those gaps for some easy shots at the rim. He finished with his first triple-double in addition to that good second half, as he had 20 points, 12 rebounds, and what has to be a playoff career-high 15 assists. Giannis's consistently great passing was a huge reason why the Bucks offense was able to persist through some of their shooting difficulties, and it allowed him to have a terrific game despite not being able to score the ball in the ways that he usually does. To see Giannis pass the ball like this has to be super promising, especially as we head into a series against the Brooklyn Nets, who are going to be much more hesitant to help off of the Bucks shooters than the Miami Heat were. That's going to mean that Giannis is going to have to make some more difficult passes, and in this game, he showed that he's capable of threading the needle at times, as a few of the passes that he had to Chris Middleton as a shooter and to PJ Tucker in the dunker spot in particular were wildly impressive. One adjustment that Coach Mike Budenholzer did make was getting the ball to Brook Lopez more. Lopez scored 17 of his 25 points in the second half and shot 7 for 9 from the field in that period. Lopez had Trevor Ariza as the primary defender on him, as Bam Adebayo was guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo instead of his fellow center. That gave Lopez a significant size advantage on the offensive end of the court, and the Bucks were able to exploit that, as Lopez was found multiple times both as a cutter and as a roller out of the pick and roll, where there was one play in particular where Chris Middleton threw up a lob pass to Lopez where he threw down an emphatic dunk that really sealed the game off for the Bucks, as they had gone up by double digits at that point. Lopez also had the best plus-minus in this game for the Bucks, and when he was able to stay out of foul trouble and stay on the court, he was really impactful on the defensive end of the court. So, as I've said, his great scoring and his excellent rim protection made him a huge factor in this game, and he played a large part in this Bucks victory. In addition to Giannis and Brook both scoring 20-plus points, Bryn Forbes and Chris Middleton had 20-plus games of their own. Forbes came off the bench in Dante DiVincenzo's first full game out. That was a bit of a surprise for me, as in a video I posted yesterday, I predicted that Forbes would be the likely replacement of DiVincenzo in the Bucks starting lineup. It will be interesting to see if the fact that he outplayed Pat Connaughton will lead to Mike Budenholzer inserting him into the starting lineup over Pat, but if Bud likes Bryn's shooting coming off the bench, I could certainly see why he would keep going with that, especially after the way Forbes shot the ball off the bench in today's game, as he had 22 points and shot 7 for 14 from beyond the three-point line. The 7 times 3 is 21, so you might be wondering how Bryn got the 22nd point. That 22nd point came on a monster and one three-point shot where the Bucks were coming into the second half in a bit of a cold streak, and Forbes came off the bench and made this monster and one triple that really gave them a lot of momentum in that third quarter. So overall, a really nice game for Forbes, and it will be interesting to see if he's inserted into the starting lineup or if Budenholzer keeps Connaughton in there. Personally, I think Connaughton is probably a better fit, especially in a matchup against the Brooklyn Nets or Boston Celtics, as against both of those teams, Connaughton's perimeter defense is going to be quite valuable. Chris Middleton started off this game a little bit poorly, as he had just 5 points on 2 for 6 shooting in the first half, but a 12-point third quarter really got Cash going. Middleton consistently hunted out the mismatch that he was able to get quite a bit against Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, and that allowed him to score some really easy buckets. And in that second half, the third quarter in particular, Middleton was really able to swing the game for the Bucks and knock down some huge, difficult but makeable shots, and that allowed Milwaukee to really get it going on the offensive end of the court. Chris finished with a double-double, scoring 20 points and grabbing 11 rebounds while shooting 50% from the field. That's another solid game from Chris in what was a really good series for him against the Heat. Overall, I view this as a really good win for Milwaukee. They had great execution in the second half, and that allowed them to come out and sweep the Miami Heat. That has to feel great, especially when you consider what the Heat did to the Bucks in last year's playoffs in the bubble. Now, the Bucks will be looking forward and locking in on their next opponent in this year's playoffs. Whether that's the Boston Celtics or the Brooklyn Nets remains to be seen, but I think that the Bucks have a great chance of knocking off either of those teams, and I just can't wait to watch more Bucks basketball, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a whole lot of fun in this year's first round, and I look forward to talking to you all much more about what our favorite team has been up to. Be sure to let me know what you thought of this video in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe, especially if you are a fellow Bucks believer. This is the place for you. I also want to thank you all for 400 subscribers. It's been a long journey getting here, as I've been making videos after just about every game, and it feels good to be getting some recognition for what I've been doing. I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to cover, so that's going to be it for me. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you all again very soon.